You're too slow.
Alright guys, so today's video is going to be special. Today we've got Joey Pokeaim. You all know him. You all came from his channel. You can say hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Should be fun.
So in today's video, I want to present you an idea, and I want you to either help me explain the idea and agree, or you can give me pushback and explain why you think that it's incorrect.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
with the continuing generations of Pokemon, we see Pokemon that come out and they're faster, and they get faster every generation. Not only looking at the base stats, but we see abilities like Beast Boost, which allow you to stack your speed without really having to do anything. Or now in this generation, you get the Photosynthesis Beast Boosts. And of course, we see with Mega Pokemon, right? These Z Mega Evolutions, 151 base speed. So we've got really fast guys. And so I want to sort of build out this reference sheet of speed in Pokemon. And so in today's video and in the next video, we're going to talk about speed in Pokemon and sort of try to give benchmarks for it. So the thesis of today's video is that 110 speed is the new 100. And I'm going to present my argument, and you can let me know what you think about it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so in Gen 4, and obviously in earlier generations, presumably it was slower, but we've always had certain Pokemon that were fast, right? We always have had Jolteon, and it was fast, and we've always had Aerodactyl and Electrode, right? Some pretty fast guys, but none of them were like really meta-defining. So if we just look at OU, for example, in Gen 4, you're looking at something like Zapdos, you're looking at something like Latios. Those are going to be sort of the fastest guys, right?
Yeah. Though you can argue that Aerodactyl was at least a lead, and Azelf, I think, is a speed tier that you're missing. That is right above there. Even Jolteon technically is OU by technicality, but obviously it's, if it was now, it would not be like OU. But for the most part, yes, you can argue that Latias would be the, from a competitive standpoint, OU would argue Latias would be that bench point, and then Azelf obviously right above it.
Right. And then, of course, you've got other Pokemon, I suppose, like
And Starmie,
Alakazam
sorry.
and Gengar that are the 110 and whatever, but they're not usually seen as much. Maybe Gengar is seen somewhat. And that's
Gengar's super good in OU. Same thing with Starmie as well. And Starmie is one of the ones that is faster than 110. It's 115.
Right.
So those are definitely more. But yeah, if it's under that, it would go, Infernape? And then it'd go to base 100s.
Yep. And so in, let's say, Gen 4, we're going to take Gen 4 as sort of the base benchmark because, you know, at that point you have the physical special split and you have the choice scarf. And so before that, especially because of the absence of the choice scarf, speed tiers, I feel like, were a bit different. But here we've established we have like 4 or 5 relevant non-lead Pokemon that are above base 100, and then it's 100 and below. So if you're at base 100 speed, then you don't really have to worry too much about getting revenge killed. You can basically just move the slider to the right, max speed Timid, max speed Jolly, and unless they go into one of the few guys, which they probably only have one on their team, maybe 2, then you're probably going to be fastest at base 100.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid, if you want to say that, right? Because like you definitely do want base 100 at least, because Lucario is 306 speed, right? So it's right under you. So typically Mons like Jirachi and them, if they are running offensive Combine, they're going to run base 100 because they want to outspeed Lucario. Otherwise, you know, you get +2 CC to the face. Also speed tying with something like Choice Band or Life or Flygon and things like that. Base 100 is a really powerful speed tier in Generation 4 OU.
Right.
So yeah, you're right.
And then that's actually part of the reason why they made Garchomp 101, right? It's 101, right? Not 103.
I believe Garchomp is, if I'm not mistaken, it's 102.
Oh, yeah, it's 102. Okay. And then that one outsped Salamence.
Salamence. That was the big one. You'd have to imagine that maybe in Gen 4, someone had a Garchomp versus Salamence, and they got outsped after they were running a choice scarf, and they got outsped after Dragon Dance from Salamence, and they were like, nah, we have to fix it. That's how I'd imagine
And I remember
it went down.
you've said that in videos before, and so I've sort of taken that as gospel, regardless of if it's true or not.
It's probably not true, but I would assume back then it was, right? Like I would definitely, you want your pseudo legendary to be something better than the one from the previous generation.
And
so you want one that beats both.
And we've seen that in this generation, and with recent Pokemon, like we see the Mega Zeraora is put at 153. Well, that's not because 153 has some special meaning. It's because they wanted it to be faster than their Z guys. Then they made the Z guys faster than the
Calyrex.
Yeah, Calyrex, exactly. So that then when they go into VGC, they can be good. They made Calyrex just faster than Zacian and stuff like that, right? I think it's faster.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they always sort of speed.
Oh, no. The Zmons are faster than Calyrex, 100%. Like.
Yeah. And then Zacian.
Because they're all 441.
Yeah, and then Zacian.
Whereas Calyrex is 438. And Calyrex is faster than Zacian, yes.
Yeah, and so they keep on speed creeping the last previous guy because they want to make sure that this guy's more relevant. Mm-hmm.
Not to say that, Zacian and Zamazenta weren't relevant next to Calyrex. They 100% were.
Yes. But
it's to just keep them in check. This is something that they've been doing for a while. So Garchomp, the pseudo-legendaries of Generation 3 are Metagross and Salamence. Garchomp, in the ideal scenario, can beat them both. Right? Both can also beat Garchomp.
And Ice Punch and stuff like that, yes.
Intimidate, etc., etc. Like, there's a lot that could happen there.
Right.
Bulky Ments with Draco, there's a lot. So yes, that was the idea behind it, in my opinion.
And then I think that's right. And so if we look at that,
look at the previous gen, right? You have Metagross beating Tyranitar typing wise, in a sense,
Yeah.
So.
They don't want to put out these new guys and have sort of like a Goodra situation where people look at Goodra and they're like, okay, well, Gumi is cute and it's sort of a meme, but nobody's ever going to use Goodra because it's not got a good typing and it's not got favorable stats.
Yeah, I feel like the idea was that it's a special defense wall with an assault vest that came out, in that generation.
Right.
So it would be the premier assault vest user that could beat Hydreigon previously, I guess. I don't know. I think it kind of tapers off after that, right? Because even Hydreigon, you can argue, doesn't necessarily beat Garchomp in a sense. You're immune to Earthquake.
They did show some restraint with Hydreigon, actually. It's one of the least optimized out of all of them. It doesn't have Homo's signature moves, and it doesn't have the speed creeping that all the other guys enjoyed.
Yeah, it's just a hard hitter that's good with every item.
Mm-hmm. So, I then want to sort of jump to Generation 7 a bit, because Generation 7 is the generation that we had Tapu Koko, and we had the Mega Pokemon still in the tier. So as opposed to Generation 8, which, introduced things like Dragapult, at least Generation 7 still has the Megas, so, and it's fully Nat Dex, so I think that was the last generation that is good to compare against. And there we see that already by that point, speed is already pretty nuts. We have Ash Greninja, which I would say was a really relevant one, because it wasn't +1/+1/+1, but you're still at that 122 speed tier, and you're hitting really hard. Actually, it's 132 after it transforms. And then you have, of course, Mega Lopunny, right?
Mega Alakazam. Yeah, Mega Alakazam would be the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
Mega Alakazam and Mega Aerodactyl would be the fastest, but Mega Alakazam would probably be the more relevant one when it comes to OU. And then you'd have, obviously, Lopunny. That would be the big one. And then under Lopunny, you'd have the the Tapu Koko. And then it kind of just goes from there. But yes, Tornadus, Weavile, etc., etc.
Yeah. And so compared to the previous gen where we said, okay, here were a few fast guys that were above 100, and then it's the hundreds. Like by the time we got down to Weavile and Greninja, we'd already listed off about 3 or 4 guys, and we were at base 120 speed. And then underneath that, we still have. I need to put in the actual OU tier so it sorts out Persian. Yeah, we haven't even gotten down to the base 110s of like Mega Diancie or Garchomp, I guess. So there's a bunch of faster guys in Generation 7. And then in Generation 8, a 9, if we go up to Gen 9, it feels like just the metagame is so much faster. Obviously, stall is still relevant, right? And balance is fine. So it's not like every team you fight is going to just be speeding the metagame, but obviously we can ignore Deoxys speed. I think Deoxys speed fills a similar role to Aerodactyl or Azelf, where most of the time it's just a lead, right? Even though Psycho Boost is scary.
No. Life Orb and Nasty Plot are very good right now too.
Are they good right now?
Yeah, but I mean, I'd argue you're right. There's a lot of base above 100s. Like you have Darkrai, you have Cinderace as well, which is obviously a Gen 8 one too. Obviously Dragapult too, and then you have like Enamorus and Iron Moth with the base 110s and stuff like that. And then the Wellspring at base 110, etc., and Zamazenta at 138. But I would argue specifically for Gen 9, I think that anything over Golden Ghost speed tier is considered good. So I know like your whole basis is that base 110 is the new 100, but I would argue that base anything over, I would argue base 85 might be the new 100 in Generation 9. Because that's the baseline, kind of similar to where Jirachi, Celebi, and all them, you know, the base 100s of Generation 4 were like, okay, this is relevant because I'm faster than one of the most centralizing Pokemon in the meta. Golden Go at base 84. So anything at 85, anything stronger than 85, Great Tusk at 87, you know, Glamora at 86, etc. Like I feel like it's actually centralized around there, and then it just springs all the way up. But
well, it is sort of interesting if we just filter out the base, the OU Pokemon specifically, and ignore UUBL or UU. If I look at the speed tier sort, there's only one Pokemon that actually has base 100. That's Zapdos, and of course in modern gen, Zapdos never runs speed, or that much speed at least. So you're right in the sense that it sort of springs up, and I don't know if that's just because of the Pokemon we have in the tier. But
I think it definitely is, but I really do feel like that comfort zone of Mons is like over Golden Go, right? I feel like 85 and above is the new thing, specifically because in that circle, not only do you have Golden Go, but you have Samurott Glamora, Landorus, Great Tusk at 87. Like all these Mons are all super meta relevant, and they're all like fighting to beat each other. Right. In a sense.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like that is.
You have the rapid spin boost as Great Tusk comes in, so then you can outspeed even a Scarf Golden Go if you invest properly. But if you don't want to invest properly, then the Scarf Golden Go would outspeed you, could KO you with Dazzling Gleam, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or even just the fact that it can still knock off on the switch and then headlong rush and beat it 1v1, you know? Mm-hmm. Same thing with Samurott being able to see Sasage, can run Assault Vest, heavy duty boots. So I do feel like I actually personally think that it's a lower. I think that I think base 85 is the new 100, or base above 84, if I would argue, right? Above 84, below 90 is the new 100, because that's the new baseline for the tier. We don't have relevant base 100s in OU besides Zapdos.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what's funny is part of the reason I was thinking this was that a few months ago when we were doing your Gen 9 draft league, there were so many things that were happening at base 110, right? Because I believe you had Ogerpon, right? And
I know I had to run max speed every week. You're absolutely right.
Every week. And Ogerpon, I see so many people complaining about how Ogerpon is so annoying, so over-centralizing, and Iron Moth is right there alongside of it. So I feel like the base 110 tier is really nice. But looking at the Pokemon that are on that base 110, it might just
It's only two.
It's just those two.
It's only those two. So, it's those two, and then Latios, which is very good. Don't get me wrong. Latios is good. It's not OU by usage. In fact, it's actually UU. But Latios is extremely good in OU right now with Cover Cloak, with Specs. It's very, very good. So this is just not like, I mean, we have many months before tiers are actually finalized. It's different than before. We don't see rise and drops and quick rises and stuff anymore.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I would say for Gen 9 specifically, I don't think you can argue that, because that would mean it's the most relevant, it's the new speed tier you want to be. And I feel like that's not true. There's two Pokemon that are there and they're good. And those are the two Pokemon that are there, period. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, in fact, I'd actually compare it similar to Gen 4, because one of them could be Latias, which is a GOAT of Gen 4. And then the other one around there is probably Starmie, right? Gengar is obviously at 110 too, but Starmie is right above. But I say those two are similar to like the Ogerpon Iron Moth situation, where they're just very, very good. And that, which is why I was interested in doing this video, because I obviously I had a different thought when it came to it. I just think the number was just slightly off.
Right. So I guess to try to counter this argument, I would say that before the base 90s, the base 80s and 90s were sort of the Pokemon that are passively fast tier, and then the base 100s were there to keep them in check. Now we do have maybe not base 100, but we do have a bunch of Pokemon that are in the 100s. So we have Walking Wake, we have Iron Treads, which sometimes can be speedy. We have Enamorous, and then there were a couple others I was looking at that aren't specifically in OU. There was, I guess technically...
There's Boulder, there's Meowscarada.
Oh, yeah, Boulder, yeah. And then,
even Gren and things like that. They're all relevant. They're all mons that can be relevant in the OU tier. Weavile, they can be used in the OU tier. And I agree.
Which is UUBL.
Yeah. But here's my thing, right? Because the base 100s of the previous gen, besides like Flygon, which is not
relevant,
a mythical Pokemon. Well, in Gen 4 was relevant.
Yes.
But which is not a mythical Pokemon, right? Like Jirachi and Celebi. The reason they function so well is because their stats were basically perfect, because it's 100 across the board, right? They were not too strong, they were not too weak. And I would argue the way that Generation 9 has done, like look at Great Tusk, for instance, that's a perfectly distributed mon, right?
Yes.
Like even with its 53 space special defense, it can tank a hit because of its base 115 HP. Glamora has its role as a lead, similar to like Azelf, but it also can function even better as a mixed sweeper because of no pursuit, right? Or as a meteor beamer, as a scarfer and things like that. So I would argue that they've made their stats better for what they are. Even Hisuian Samurott, like its typing is what kind of, and plus Ceaseless Edge is what does it for it, right around that. So they're not, you're right, there's a lot of mons that are keeping them in check, 100% Val and all these Pokemon, but that doesn't make them any worse, right? The number one most used mon is Great Tusk, and then Gambit, like, and that's it. Like Great Tusk is the quote unquote Lander, and even speaking of Landorus, right? It's the Landorus of this tier. It's too good to not want to use it on your team, and whether it's offensively, booster speed, whatever it is, like it's doing that. So you're right, they're definitely the faster mons keeping them in check, but that's not, it's kind of similar to Jirachi, right? It doesn't matter that Heatran, Infernape, Flygon, whatever, are so good in Generation 4. This Pokemon is going to show up to the game 30% of the time.
So then we see there are a bunch of Pokemon that aren't necessarily OU and that are fast. And we don't want to conflate not being fast enough with just not being good in the metagame. But could there be an argument to say that something like Weavile is not as good right now because of all the booster guys can just come in, revenge kill it? Or maybe something like Keldeo with its base 108 speed, which currently is running amok in ZA, but isn't really good in this tier, in no small part, right? There's no Toxapex in this tier.
Yeah,
but,
it's interesting because if you actually go down to UU and you go to where literally Keldeo is and you see Latios right above it, right?
Yep.
And then you see right above that, you see Hydrapple and you see Greninja. It's interesting because all of those are still very good in OU. I think this is more about just the way tiers are done now and just the way the cutoff has changed from years in the past, from Generation 4 to now, that these mons are still very good. Like Ogerpon, for instance, just that regular Ogerpon just hit rank 1, you know?
Yeah.
Recently with Hydreigon team. Yeah, and exactly. And then Hydreigon is RUBL, right? And that's another mon that's a good speed tier. The reason it did so well is because it's a speed tier above Golden Go and things like that, right? So I guess you could argue that, but also I feel like it's just, there's just so many Pokemon that usage doesn't, I mean, I've always said usage doesn't determine how good a Pokemon is, right? Usage is just how much is being used. But like most mons in the UU tier, I can name off maybe like 10 of them, right? So you got Weavile, you got Tinkaton, all are very, very good. Sinistra's really good in OU. Ogerpon's very good in OU. You know, Low Kicks is phenomenal in OU. Latios is great in OU. Hydrapple is amazing. You know, Gren is really good too. Like even Claude is specifically for like some stall variants that need it. But I don't know. I don't think it's I actually think this is probably the most fair tier where UU can work in OU, like the most fair meta.
Well,
Look at UUBL, for instance.
You've even dropped off Sandy Shocks and
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or like the mons that are almost exclusive to Trick Room, Iron Hands and Ursaluna are very good. Even Hoopa, very good. With that, Ogerpon Cornerstone's being used too. There's a lot of Okie Dokie teams that peaked rank 1 recently. I'm not saying peak rank 1 means it's amazing, but I think that doesn't mean it's like bad, right? Like take also Pelipper, for instance, UUBL, right? And what's Pelipper's best teammate? A Pokemon that is NUBL, I believe. Is Barraskewda even? No, Barraskewda is NU.
Yeah, Barraskewda is.
It's literally NU.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's literally NU, right, bro. And even Basket Legion is NU as well. But these are all, they will be called upon to the OU tier for a specific thing. So I just think it's just, we have so many Pokemon now that are all so good, right? They're all so good. I don't think we have any bad Pokemon that are OU. Like, you know, if you take the end of Generation 4, you would see people, the original Generation 4, you see Dusknoir, you see Electivire, all those Mons in OU, Umbreon. They're not necessarily good, right?
Well,
they just happen to be used at that time.
Because when I go back to Gen 4, you're like, oh, hop on the Gen 4 ladder. I'm like, okay, let's pull up the Gen 4 OU. And I'm seeing Dusknoir, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, and you'll see them all OU by technicality, right? They'll have like OU with quotations. So I think it's just, we're just in a situation where almost everything can work. And that, while I do agree that there is a speed tier that's not 100, I think it's, like I said, between 85 and to 90. I think that's the sweet spot right now that you want to be, specifically because of Golden Go is so centralizing. Because, okay, let's take Sticky Web Offense, for instance, right? Yeah. Sticky Web Offense will always have a Golden Go air balloon because that's your Mortal Spin, that's your Defog, that's your Rapid Spin Stopper. Balance will almost always have Golden Go because that's your same thing, Rapid Spin Blocker, but also can be a Stall Breaker with Thunder Wave Hex, Nasty Plot, can be Specs, Nasty Plot, Terra Steel, Make It Rain. Other offenses can run Choice Scarf with Trick. Like, it's such a, or they can run Max Defense, Max HP, Shuka. It's such a splashable Mon, but it's like, to me, it's like Snorlax of Gen 2, where it's just so good.
It's like Clefable of Gen 6, where it just does whatever
that's a good
you
one.
need it
Yeah.
to do. Knock off Thunder
yeah, that's better. That's probably a better one. Yeah. So that's why I think your thesis is right. I just think the number is a little bit, I think you went too high because it's only 2 Pokemon specifically. And while one of them is definitely extremely nasty in the meta, right? Ogerpon, people would argue Ogerpon. There's some people that want to ban. I personally don't really care.
And that's why I brought it up, right? Because I feel like Ogerpon is, that 110 is what half of what makes it so good. Yeah, you don't outspeed any of the Paradox guys that are like the fast guys like Valiant, or anybody who has a speed booster. But outside of that, you can outspeed the Enamorus, you can outspeed any of the bulky ground types, unless Great Touch has a speed boost.
I'd still argue, even if it, like, let's say I had 106 and it's speed tied with Pokemon like Enamorus, Pokemon with like Iron Treads, etc. I still think it'd be good because versus opposing Iron Moth, who's almost exclusively running booster speed, right? Almost exclusively runs booster speed, or if it's running booster special attack, it's on Sticky Web. You're almost always going to get outsped, and you're probably going to Terra to be able to take the hit to knock them out back, you know? So I would argue that that speed tier is not, it is what makes it phenomenal, especially in the 1v1 in a vacuum. But I would argue that as long as it had anything over 105 or even just 100, I'd still think it'd be really good. Because the Pokemon this Mon is breaking are the Mons like Tusk, Moltres, Landorus. So Mons that you're already naturally faster. And the ones that are faster in it, if they're special attackers, it can Terra to get the Spadef raise and be pure water, which can obviously flip some matchups. Or it can just tank the hit from the faster one. So I would only argue, I don't know. I think this one would be a little bit harder to argue that. I think it might be a little bit easier in a previous generation.
So that is interesting. I tried to go through and figure out like how I could present the data for this, but it's really hard to know which Pokemon are relevant, right? If I just went and did OU, I don't think that would be a fair graph to say here are the speed tiers, because there, like we were talking, there's so many UUBL and UU Pokemon, and actually probably a lot more UU Pokemon than UUBL even, that are good.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
And so if I left somebody off, people would be like, oh, you missed this particular speed tier, that should have been on the list. So I said I'm not even going to bother with that. But definitely, if you just look at OU in a vacuum, there is this huge gaping hole at base 100 where previous gens had a ton of them.
Mons, yeah. Now you have just Zapdos, right? Like you said, it's not always. It's barely running max speed. It might run in some cases. It might run more than Landers if it wants to be very greedy. If the team's very weak to Landers, or if it's like a spec Zapdos or something like that. But you're normally running that more defensive set. And then you have if you look at what's it called? Look at UU, right? Even Fezandipity. A Fezandipity Sun team just hit rank 1 with Nasty Plot. And it's base 99 speed. So the reason and it had to run Terror Blast Ground, I believe. Obviously, because that allows it to hit the steel types and actually flip some matchups.
Right.
Or it was that Terror Dash Down or Terror Fire. But the whole thing was it was faster than Golden Go, it was faster than Great Tusk. So it had a relevant speed tier just right under base 100, but it was able to work out.
That's pretty cool. And looking at the fastest guys, Darkrai, Zamazenta are both allowed in this gen, and of course Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon before when it was allowed. Those guys, I would say, still tend to push the speed tier higher than it was to an extent.
For sure. Absolutely, for sure, because it's more common up there, I would say. You mentioned in a previous point that there were some mons that maybe were okay, like Aerodactyl, for instance, in Gen 4 is way different than Aerodactyl in Gen 3. Gen 3, it's running a choice band, right? Almost exclusively. Gen 4, you're probably almost always using it as a lead, or if you have, there was times way back in the day where it was like a Heatran switch in for Sand Team, so it would run Roost or Edgequake, and then Ice Fang, or whatever it had. Some cover, and Taunt, no, it would be Taunt, Roost, Earthquake, Stone Edge. It'd be a great Heatran switching because you're never two-shot, even with Sand Up, even with Rocks. And you're faster than Modest Scarf Heatran too if they're very greedy. So it was just a few like options like that would be cool. But now you go to these speed tiers and every mon can do so many different things, right? Valiant is mixed, special, specs, scarf, whatever it wants, booster, whatever it wants to be. Darkrai can be plot, choice scarf, choice specs, knockoff, heavy duty boots, which is really good at breaking stall because you basically get every single item with that. And then obviously Za can be its CC plus Iron Defense plus Life Orb plus dual screens, whatever the hell it wants to be. But they're definitely pushing that limit. A lot of mons like there's a set for Darkrai that was running around that was Nasty Plot, really bulky. It would run max HP leftovers. This will allow to take like a Draco Meteor from Dragapult specs, but the Darkrai never gave up its max speed because it was relevant enough to be faster than Cinderace, right? It was relevant enough to be faster than Vow and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you could make it bulkier if you went less speed, but then who cares if you have the HP to take attacks if you can't? So I would argue at that point that these speed tiers are necessary up here, and they're all keeping each other in check. I think that's at least the argument for keeping these mons alive, at least.
Yeah, well, I definitely think they should be kept in the tier. You want fast guys to pressure other guys to keep it. Otherwise, it ends up like draft, except for they get to be bulky, whereas the guys below them don't get to be bulky because they have to catch up.
100%. It's a good example too. Yeah, like Regieleki I ran every week. I did not have to put speed on that mon. Sometimes I had to put 8 speed with a timid nature, and that was faster than the fastest Scarfer or even like a Swift Swim user if they wanted. And I can run like max HP, max defense, and I was running dual screens. So most of the time, so it was just really, really good at doing that. But you're absolutely right. But then you have mons like Gliscor, for instance, who take advantage of both sides. We talked about Zapdos, right? How Zapdos had yes, it has that base 100, but it rarely, like it's rare that it runs max unless it's like a more offensive variant.
Right.
Take Gliscor, for instance, right? Gliscor is running Spadef or Fizdef, but then the Swords Dance Facade variant, there's the bulkier versions that are taking on Great Tusk defensively, and then there's the offensive ones that are running max speed to be faster than Great Tusk, to be faster than Golden Go and everything, and to take advantage of that. That's one of the mons that can flip on a whim. That's why it's also one of the more oppressive mons that people say, and that's why it was banned once, at least before.
I guess that occupies
really
a similar speed tier to Kyurem as well, who does the same thing.
Exactly. Like you'll have the Kyurems that can run Specs, Scarf, Never Melt Ice, Life Orb even if you really want to. And then there's also that Assault Vest set that's running like max special defense, max HP, and it's tanking Walking Wake Dracos and Sun and KOing back with Freeze Dry. So like there's a lot that you can go, and then there's also Substitute, obviously. So there's a lot of mons that can really function, and that speed tier allows them to function that way because Kyurem's a mon when you see Kyurem at face value, you respect that base 95 speed. When you see Gliscor at face value, you don't. So, at least initially, because you don't know. Golden Go's another one of those mons that you don't know which one,
Yeah,
right?
you know.
Modest, timid, bold.
Yeah, Golden Go is like a Charizard. You don't know what it's going to be until it mega evolves.
It mega evolves, yeah.
You have to go off to
Petron as well. I would argue Petron as well, like the parting shot set or even Nasty Plot. Like this is all going back to my point of as long as you're faster than Golden Go, you're good. There's Nasty Plot or even defensive Petron sets that are running faster than Golden Go just to two-shot them with Shadow Ball. So that guy has warped the speed tier to be 85 to 90 to whatever. 85 to 100 is good because of Golden Go. Anything higher is good for its own specific reasons.
Petron is the Pokemon I was the most incorrect about when it first came out. Thought it was not going to be used in OU because of King Gambit. But was wrong with that.
Terra Blast is big, but being able to just parting shot is nice too. Foul play as well. Terra Dark is like you're taking 2 hits from King Gambit, you're 2-hit KOing them if they have enough boosts. I love this mod. I love that mod so much.
Yeah.
I love Petron so much.
Well, you keep drafting it, and so I'm not a big fan of it. It's so annoying to face.
I mean, I think it won twice for me, didn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, I think so. I think it won. I don't remember. No, yes, it did. It won twice.
And it's so cheap
it won.
when they let it's Terra in draft too, because
yes,
it doesn't matter.
and that's when I had it. Yeah. You know what? My draft was actually a good example of what you're talking about. Take my draft for not BBR, BUBL, so the Bubby Premier League, right? Bubby's Ultimate Battle League. My team, typically a Terra Captain, is going to be something fast or strong and does so it can do burst damage, or a really defensive mon. My team speed tiers had Latios, Iron Valiant, and Landorus Incarnate, right? So those are my speed tiers, and we talked about this like, oh my god, Iron Moth every damn week has to do this. But then my defensive Terras were Avalugg, Hisui, Petra, and Belly Bolt. I didn't end up going any offensive Terras because, one, I couldn't afford them, but also because my whole thought process was, well, these are some of the tankiest Pokemon out there. Like, literally some of the tankiest Pokemon out there that can parting shot or volt switch out into my big threat. And because these guys cover the lower speed tiers and also can flip and be demonic in the case of Petron, right? Petron could be Nasty Plot, Terra, or defensive. And then Avalugg, I mean, you remember Speedy Avalugg winning the semis for me, being able to be faster than Quackable because of Sticky Web Up and allowing me to win. Because they can flip of what they do, like they can take advantage of those speed tiers even better. So it kind of goes with what you said, like there's these speed tiers that have to be respected, and then there's speed tiers that are sneaky but super respected, in my opinion.
Yeah. To finish off, I sort of want to just pivot off into a different territory. OU to me feels fast, but maybe that's just me. I feel like one of the things that contributes to the feeling of it being fast is all the priority that we have in the tier. So I feel like we are moving into a metagame where priority is becoming more powerful and more important to have answers to. So we've always had Dragonite since Gen 5, and so that's been a thing. But then Rillaboom came out last generation, and then we have Raging Bolt this generation with Thunderclap, and of course King Gambit with the Sucker Punch. And Sucker Punch,
and then obviously Extreme Speed Dragonite was also really good in Gen 4. Bullet Punch Scizor as well in Gen 4. Mega Scizor, every gen it was legal, etc. So you're right. You're right about Prio.
Yeah, so priorities, I feel like it's been getting more problematic, or more prevalent, I guess. No, none of this is a problem, but because I wouldn't put something like Hisui and Samurott in the mix. Obviously, it does have 2 forms of priority that are both stab. It's a really relevant Pokemon, and even Surledge maybe to some extent. Yeah. But like obviously,
I think you can argue Shadow Sneak Surledge for sure. Like it's almost always running it, right? If it's not running close combat, it always has Shadow Sneak.
But I would say that just because it has priority doesn't mean that it's on my naughty list or whatever you want to call it. But it's Dragonite, which has been there for a while. But then you got Rillaboom stacking with the King Gambit and the Raging Bolt
and Thunderclapper. Yeah.
And so now priority is really, really good. So you either have to have your own priority, even if you have fast guys, Or you just have to run like full bulk and just say, I don't care about you outspeeding me.
I think that the reason priority is so big right now is because I actually think it's tough to run Scarfers. The main thing is because like you can, right? Golden Go can run Scarf. I've seen Scarf Dragapult. I've seen Scarf Darkrai. Like there's still Scarf Enamorous is probably the most common Scarfer. I would say in the whole tier. If I had to say the whole tier, what was the most common? I'd say it's Enamorous, 100%, right? Because it has the potential to take away a game with Moonblast because of its resistance to Dark and the fact that it can Terra Ground in front of Paul, and it's just a strong Fairy move. But I think the reason for that is because Booster Energy exists now, right? So like, take back to draft. I always felt like I had to run max speed on Ogerpon because I was fighting a base 110 every week, right? And I couldn't give, or max speed on Latios because I was fighting a base 110 every week. I always draft base 110. I almost always draft base 110. And I felt like I had to always run max speed because there were so many ones around. There's not a lot of Scarfers that actually threaten, like take Iron Val. What Scarfer outspeeds Iron Val besides Darkrai? Yeah. That can get away with the actual kill of Sludge Bomb of it, right? Yes. So like, and then there's also Terra, there's also Calm Mind, Vacuum Wave, and things like that too. Like there's things to keep in mind with that. So I think it's a little bit tougher to run Scarfers, though. There are still good depending on the team, because of Booster Energy kind of taking around. Great Tusk, right? Base 87 speed. What the hell? You're not faster than me with a Scarfer. Scarf Lamore is sometimes summoning around, but like it's just so priority kind of keeps everything in check. That's the big thing. Priority keeps everything in check. So, King Gambit keeps everybody honest. Sometimes it's dishonest itself, but it keeps everybody honest, right? It's like, you're not going to beat my team. It's not like Generation 3. Just because you have Aerodactyl and Jolteon in the back doesn't mean you're going to beat my team because you're faster than me, right? I can actually deal with you this time. Raging Bolt, Thunderclap also keeps a lot of these mons in check, and they also keep him honest too because like Val will run Encore to outplay. Or I saw a team recently, the Life Orb team that I used the other day, 6 Life Orbs had Terra Crown King Gambit so it could get around Thunderclap, Raging Bolt. So like a lot of these priority keep each other in check. You could argue Gen 8 also had a ton of priority too because Bisharp was safely OU, being able to check like Blaze and stuff like that. Barraskewda was safely OU. Like Rain was OU, right? So you had Barraskewda, Aqua Jet, and things like that too. Urshifu with Aqua Jet. Weavile was really, really good as well with Ice Shard. And then obviously you had Rillaboom at its strongest, which was there too. But then also... Yeah, literally from Ubers too. They wanted to ban Weavile from Ubers, which was crazy as well. Not just OU, but they wanted to ban it from Ubers. And then again, Bisharp was safely... It's wild. But Bisharp was like safely OU as well. Like there's a lot. But yeah, Gen 9 really pushed it because they're giving us these super strong things. It kind of also goes back to Booster Energy, right? You're giving Raging Bolt a Life Orb boost without taking the cost of health. King Gambit is getting a potential 1.5 boost, right? Well, because of all the mons dead.
That's the reason why Bisharp is an OU. Because another thing I was wrong about going into this gen is I thought the Bisharp was actually a winner of this gen because it can run Eviolite now.
100% right? With Terra. It's 100% a winner with Terra. I think the biggest thing was it lost knockoff. And then now you're using what? Throat Chop? Night Slash?
Yeah, I guess that's a problem. I know you don't get Kowtow is the problem.
Yeah, not getting Kowtow is a really big thing too. But I think that like obviously because Eviolite plus like Terra is really good. It's still extremely strong. But King Gambit having that raw plus the other stats, like their bulk is actually very comparable.
Well, and it's actually Bisharp's is better with the Eviolite. Plus, it has Magneton versus Magnezone.
But the HP, I think the thing you have to take into account is the HP. So, because King Gambit, if you compare King Gambit and Bisharp, like just as mons, let me put King Gambit right here, and let me put Bisharp. Yeah, so it's 70 versus 85. Like it's the 100 versus 65 that makes the big difference. Like they're taking roughly around the same, whereas King Gambit can run leftovers and also will progressively get itself stronger and hits harder. So like. I can run a calc actually just to like Blizzard from the first Pokemon in the metagame. I'll make it max HP just to do it. So Blizzard from like an Abomasnow will do 14 to 17 to a Bisharp, max HP Eviolite, right? And you're kind of already giving up stuff by doing that. Whereas King Gambit, max HP is taking 15 to 18. So it's a 1% difference for leftovers recovery, which is you're taking less. You're actually taking less because of leftovers recovery. You know, it's a 1% difference, and that's on the special side. That's not even like on the physical side is obviously the big one. But when it comes to physical, most of the physical bonds in OU will hit Bisharp for super effective damage. Period. And again, it can tear out, but it doesn't have the leftovers recovery, whereas King Gambit can tear out, take a headlong rush, and leftovers itself back to full if it wants to.
And it's just so strong. And I really
exactly the initial strength plus Kowtow being the move it is, right? Kowtow's 85. Now, obviously, if it had knockoff, they'd both be good as hell, right? You see Bisharp and UU probably alongside low kicks.
Well, I was sort of hoping it would be OU because I sort of considered it like a Magneton Magnezone situation where maybe not nowadays. I'm trying to remember, like back in Gen 6, you would sometimes run Magneton over Magnezone just so you could hit like Skarmory faster,
speed tier.
Right? But with
and also just the speed tier on Scarf was big. Like you were actually faster than Tornadus. So yeah, you were faster than Tornadus.
But it did not turn out
big.
That way. The Sharp is not used very much. Although if you play Ryu, it will bop you, so you gotta watch out for that.
Mon's good, dude. I mean, I just drafted Bisharp in a VGC league because I'm excited. I didn't want to get King Gambit, way too expensive, but Bisharp, it's holding one item, right? And there's item clause. So,
Yep.
But it's interesting, right? Because Choice Scarf is just not the. It's tough. How do you even put a Choice Scarf? I'm looking at your your archetypes and what, like, how do you even put a Choice Scarf on your team, right? Like what's relevant? And it's interesting too because if you play National Decks OU, the tiers change because so many megas are alive, and I actually think Choice Scarfers are better there than they are in regular OU.
Well, and I do want to
like
talk about Nat Decks before we end the video.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, look at Urshifu and Samurott are two water types that are very good Scarfers, in my opinion, in net decks, right? Obviously, Urshifu has the U-turn, has the Surging Strikes, very strong. It has a good speed tier as well that actually hits relevant Pokemon like Zard Y and things like that. And then Samurott can do the same thing, but there's also no Terra. So, like, Samurott's checking Golden Go on the 1v1 because there's no Terra.
There's no Terra.
So you can't actually get, you can't actually get out. Yeah. It got banned, so you can't actually get out of the what's it called? National Decks. You can't actually get away with being able to tank the hits. So like Ace, so Scarfers actually become a lot better because the mons you're hitting, you're actually able to check for real damage. It's mainly Urshifu though, is the big one, and Lele as well, because you're actually able to, like, if I'm hitting a Raging Bolt with a Moonblast, it's not going to randomly terrestrialize into a Steel type, If I'm hitting Clodsire with a Psyshock, it's not going to become a Dark type. You're going to be able to hit these mons for what it is.
Funny looking at the speed tiers in OU as well. There's still a lot of fast guys, and then there's the 110s, and then there's...
You're looking at Nat Decks, right?
Yeah, Nat Decks. I'm wondering what...
I wish you could sort it by just OU. I get why it shows everything, but...
Well, you can put in OU in the filter, and then it gives you just OU. But then it doesn't give you stuff like UBL, because I'm looking at this, and I'm like...
Yeah.
Where the heck is Kartana? And Kartana's in UBL.
Yeah, and then you have like Weavile there too.
Actually, a lot of base 100s in UBL as well. Just you can't really hack it with a base 100 when those guys are so fast. Like Charizard X, you gotta decide if you're gonna run bulky or max speed. Max speed +1 Dragon Dance, you're still not out of speeding a lot of these guys that you need to, and you're still gonna get dead.
I think the big thing is Charizard kills itself, like, whereas Zard Y doesn't. It kills you.
Yeah, well, Zard Y is just broken.
Especially with Weather Ball and stuff like that. But I think some mons down here are still insane. Like Mawile and Metacham and things like that are all very good. Kart's still, in my opinion, good and probably still viable Scarfer into the Leles and Tabus and things like that.
Well, Kartana is going to be something we talk about in the next video because I think that's the premier choice Scarfer. In my opinion, like I always think choice Scarf, I always think Kartana and Flygon. Those are like the two guys that when you say choice Scarf, I say Flygon, Kartana.
Yeah, I think that's fair. For old gens, for sure. I agree with that.